This is one of the biggest perpetrators.
Finally, this is the first event where we could go and really celebrate.
Do you only believe the best women deserve fair competition? Is this really adequate? Is that enough?
The NCAA really needs to do more in their protection of girls. Women's rights were denied.
Apology, is that enough to right the wrongs of the university?
The Department of Education took it 10 steps further.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gaines for Girls podcast. I have been waiting to talk about the news that we are going to talk about today. I've posted some about it on social media, but it was a really, really big deal and foundational to this fight that I personally have been fighting the past 3 years, some much longer than me. The guest that we have today has been right there alongside me from the very, very beginning. So excited to get into this news. But before we do, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It is Cozy Earth. You've heard me talk about them before. They're incredible. I am so excited, truthfully, to be now, I'm 30 weeks pregnant, which is wild. So that means travel is starting to slow down. If you follow along, I mean, I'm like here, there, everywhere, all the time, sleeping in hotels, but now I get to be home so much more, which is just the best thing ever because I get to sleep in my own bed and I have the best sheets on the entire planet because they are Cozy Earth's viscose sheets they're made from bamboo, from viscose. They naturally wick away heat. They naturally wick away any sort of moisture. I sleep so incredibly great. So you can check them out at CozyEarth.com. You can use my code GAINS for 40% off. They have a 100-night trial. So if you don't like them, which take my word for it, you will, you can return them. I think there's a 10-year warranty. You're not going to need that. Also, so sweet, they have Cozy Earth crib sheets for the little baby girl. So they sent some of those my way. Again, so soft. I have their pajamas. Actually, I wish you could see, we're filming this very early in the morning. So I wish you could see my pajama pants right now that I'm wearing from Cozy Earth. So again, CozyEarth.com, code GAINS for 40% off. We're talking about the news today that came out as University of Pennsylvania. Again, this has been one of the worst actors, the ones that have allowed for Leah Thomas, his participation on the women's team, ultimately sparking this cultural revolution. Maybe we should thank University of Pennsylvania, I don't know, for how they have lit a fire underneath myself and again, so many others. But we're talking to Marshi Smith. She's been on the show before. She is a national champion in the women's 200-yard backstroke in 2005. So she's, of course, been very established in her own athletic career. Got involved in this fight after seeing the injustice of what University of Pennsylvania, the NCAA, the Ivy League, other institutions allowed for. Co-founded an organization called ICONS, which stands for International Council on Women's Sports. They have been fantastic. I think the most really pivotal thing that they've been able to do is put these lawsuits forward, whether that's in terms of funding, whether that's in terms of structure, whatever it is. One of the big ones that they have put forward over the past year, actually a little over a year at this point, we filed back in March, is the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit. Super fun, by the way, to sue someone with such deep pockets. But nonetheless, I imagine we will be victorious in this endeavor. It's myself and 19 other plaintiffs, 19 other women, female athletes who have been impacted at the hands of the NCAA, their discriminatory, regressive, harmful policies. So pushing forward there. So keep watching to hear about the Upenn news, our reaction to it, to hear about how this news affects the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit, recent SCOTUS announcement, they will be hearing a Title IX case, and how you, as an everyday American, maybe you're a mom, maybe you're a dad, maybe you're a female athlete yourself watching this, how you can get involved in this fight. Check it out here, this interview with Marshi Smith. Well, Marshi, thank you for joining the Gaines for Girls podcast. It is great to see you again. I saw you not long ago at the White House surrounding all of this Upenn news that we're going to get into. But before we do that, do you mind just telling us, number one, a little bit about yourself, telling us about Icons, what it stands for, and what you guys do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me again. Yes, my name is Marshi Smith. I am the co-founder of the Independent Council on Women's Sports. We are a network of female athletes, their families, coaches, and supporters. We have tens of thousands of members, such as yourself, who are passionate about protecting women's sports. We advocate in a lot of different ways, including media, social media, but probably most profoundly as legal advocates defending female athletes who want to fight back in court, just like yourself in the Gaines versus NCAA case. We have 3 lawsuits pending right now where our legal counsel are representing almost 24 or over 24 female athletes in collegiate sports against organizations that have discriminated against them, like the NCAA.
Well, you left out the part where I said to explain yourself a little bit about you personally, which is very humble and it speaks a lot about you. But you yourself are a national champion swimmer from the University of Arizona. So all that you've been able to accomplish in your sport and certainly beyond, working with the other co-founder of Icons, Kim Jones, who's also been on this show before, you guys are just a force to be reckoned with. I have learned so much from both of you in terms of messaging, how to talk about these issues, how to communicate effectively. So just incredibly and eternally grateful for both of you and what you've been able to do, especially on the legal front, which leads me to, of course, as I mentioned, I saw you just a few weeks ago at the White House surrounding this news that we had come out of the Department of Education about the University of Pennsylvania. They were willing to sign this resolution agreement. Can you talk about what this is, what they agreed to, and what this means for women and for the future of women's sports?
First of all, I was talking to Kim and some of our female athlete advocates recently about the experience and the general feeling of being there at the White House with you and so many of our friends who we have forged relationships over the last several years, unfortunately under bad circumstances. You know, typically when we're getting together, we're protesting something or demanding something. And I felt like finally, this is the first event where we could go and really celebrate some good news. So that was incredible to be invited to the White House to be a part of that. Secretary McMahon, the Department of Education, have been just laser focused on doing everything they can, really in a short amount of time, to keep women's sports female. I have my short shirt on here. And they're doing an incredible job. And their announcement that day was surrounding the University of Pennsylvania. Having brought them to the table, I think in part due to a couple different reasons. It was not out of the goodness of University of Pennsylvania's heart. Of course, they are the school that had Leah Thomas compete on their women's swim team a few years ago, won an NCAA women's title. You were there, tied you in the 200 freestyle. Really have been a stick in the mud in terms of taking any sort of accountability or doing anything to suggest that their university would protect women moving forward. And so recently we have helped 3 Penn swimmers sue the university, Ivy League, and NCAA to try and hold them accountable for what they've done. And the Department of Education took it 10 steps further and launched an investigation against the school, as well as, in finding that they did violate Title IX at the time and continue to do so, held their feet to the fire with $175 million in federal funding and said, you need to rectify some of the harms that have been done and really uphold the rights of your female athletes at your school. And so part of this resolution is giving back the records on the University of Pennsylvania books, not beyond the school, but just their own record books, erasing Leah Thomas's name from the women's side, as well as promising to not have men participate on teams moving forward, and issue apologies to all the female athletes affected. I know that they've sent letters to the swimmers on their own team. I don't know if you've received a letter. We haven't
Nope.
talked about this, or any of the opponents of Penn during that season. Sounds like they haven't received any apology, but when actually reading line for line what they said, it was disappointing. It wasn't a true apology to the swimmers at all, to the standards that they deserve, which is one of the reasons why we are, proceeding with this lawsuit that actually 3 Penn swimmers are going to be at their first hearing in Boston, Massachusetts against the university in just 1 week on the 21st. So
Fantastic.
it continues, the fight continues, but the Department of Education has done really a wonderful job, and it was a day of celebration for sure at the White House.
Yeah, it's important you mention, like you said, like the Trump administration has only been in full effect for 6 months now. The wins that we have seen, especially on the cultural front lines, they've been pretty monumental in just a short amount of time. And I think especially anytime you're dealing with the legalities of things, what I have learned certainly from the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit, it's a long, drawn out process. So fantastic first steps. But I mean, is this really adequate? Is it an apology? Is that enough to right the wrongs of the university? And again, this is what I want people to realize is this is one of the biggest perpetrators in the abuse, in the mistreatment, in the emotional blackmail of women. They've come to the table, as we've discussed. They've issued this half-hearted apology on their record board. That they've already removed his names. I think he's still a part of the relays, which I would be interested to see how they're going to treat that. I think they've left those relay records still up there. But on all the PDF documents and online, they still have the asterisk at the bottom saying, worth noting that Leah Thomas competed in the 2021-2022 school year and previously held the records in this, and this. So is what the University of Pennsylvania, is what they've done truly enough to right their wrongs?
Unequivocally, no. I think it's easy, and what the NCAA and these universities want to do is to say, okay, we've done the absolute bare minimum of what you've asked of us, and so you can forget everything that's been done in the past. I mean, this is something, your experience at one meet has changed the trajectory of your entire life. There are so many women who have been voiceless across collegiate sports that have been suffering and continue to suffer over what has been done to them, with a green light from the NCAA and their schools. And so for Penn to think that, oh, we can just sweep this under the carpet now. We've erased a few places on the record board where his name was listed, no harm, no foul. Absolutely not. Women's rights were denied. Your right to privacy in the locker rooms, fair competition, and equal opportunity to perform. All of these things were done, and accountability needs to be had by not just yourself, but so many women across the country. And so they absolutely need to do more. Ivy League records still exist on the boards, Harvard records, Akron University still has his name on the record boards. And there are many other sports affected and many other schools, aside from just Leah Thomas, over the past few years that need to be rectified as well.
So to be very, very clear, the NCAA still recognizes Leah Thomas as the national champion in the women's 500 freestyle.
Correct. I have seen headlines since the Penn announcement that his titles and records have been wiped. That is not true. The university's record board has been rectified, it looks like, in individual events, but records across the country still stand. And his titles need to be pulled back. And really the only org that can do that is the NCAA itself. And that's why you and the many female athletes suing the NCAA are trying to get that to happen in court.
Got it. One of the biggest pieces of pushback that I get, and certainly that I have received over the past few weeks following this announcement, is people from the other side who agree with the fact or the assertion that men should be able to compete in women's sports. They'll come to my page and they'll comment something to the effect of, "Congratulations, you went from 5th place to 5th place." Obviously, Thomas and I, when we competed at that national championships, we tied for 5th. Granted, what I think a lot of these people don't realize is, number one, this is 5th in the country. Number two, I didn't go my best time. This wasn't my best performance. I wasn't on my A game. Truthfully, I think a lot of that, of course, I mean, swimming, any sport, there's a huge physical component to it, but there's a big mental component to it too. I mean, I think we were kind of just all over the place. Regardless, we tied for 5th. So I'll have people coming to my page saying, you got 5th place. Can you help me eloquently say that this does not matter? Like, they're kind of proving my point. The point we've all been trying to make. It doesn't matter what place you get. The argument here is, do women deserve equal opportunity or do they not? So it sounds like when you have people like Keith Olbermann who come to my page to say this, it's like, okay, do you only believe the best women deserve fair competition, or do they not too? Like, what is the argument that you're trying to make here? Can you help me eloquently put into words that it doesn't matter what place women get? They shouldn't have to compete against men at all.
I cannot say anything more eloquently than you, Riley, but that really just absolutely infuriates me, because even the least talented, least skilled girl or woman on their women's team deserves that chance to play. So whether or not a male athlete wins first place or just kicks the very last qualifier out of the competition, it does not matter. Her spot matters. So when I see, champion athletes like a Simone Biles or Megan Rapinoe talk about, well, I wouldn't care if a male athlete was competing with me, or it's totally fine with me. These are some of the highest, most decorated athletes in their sport. And so what I want to ask them is, who on your team, who was the least talented player on your team? Would you give up her spot? Can you hand over her position and her opportunity to play? Are you willing to do that? Because that's what we're really asking. And so regardless of a champion in the 500 free, or I think he got 8th place in the 100 free at the NCAA's, top 8 in swimming at the NCAA championship level is an All-American swimmer. Top 8 swimmer in the country at the fastest short course swim meet in the world. That is a huge accomplishment. To even be there is amazing. And Leah Thomas denied several women that opportunity in 3 events. And that just absolutely cannot happen again.
It's such a good point you make, and hearing it kind of framed like that, people like Simone Biles or Megan Rapinoe, they don't get to consent on behalf of all women. whether that is on, the athletic field, any athletic setting, or whether that's in the locker room. I hear a lot of women who say, well, I don't care if a man is using my restroom. Well, guess what? You don't get to consent on behalf of all women. What a crazy, narcissistic, selfish thing to think is that you believe you get to. Absolutely not. How do the recent decisions from the University of Pennsylvania, again, this resolution agreement that was signed, does that have any effect on the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit? Like, is any precedent being set for other institutions, whether it be the NCAA, whether it be the IOC, whether it be, of course, these your usual bad actors, people like Gavin Newsom, Governor Mills in Maine? Does that set any sort of precedent in terms of, I guess, the legal world here?
I think it signals to other schools, we better not try this.
Definitely.
I think it's generally good because, again, the most prolific offender of Title IX in collegiate sports has bent the knee to some respect. But like we talked about, it's definitely not enough. And one of the reasons why, you're fighting in court, Brooks Lesser and female athletes in the West Coast and volleyball are fighting in court against the Mountain West Conference. Penn girls are fighting their university in the Ivy League on the East Coast. The reason these cases must proceed is because we really need long-standing legal precedents set to tell every university across the country, you absolutely cannot violate Title IX and discriminate against women, regardless of who's in the Oval Office. I feel really secure for the next 3 years or so, but we don't know who's coming next. And for the NCAA to, say, we're going to comply with this executive order, for Penn to say, we're going to bend the knee because of this administration, that's good for the short term. But we need legal wins to hold these universities to the fire, to account moving forward, red states, blue states, regardless for the future, because you're going to have a daughter soon who I anticipate will be an incredible athlete. I have a daughter who's just starting sports right now. And so that's really who we fight for. Our careers are over, but the reason we spend every day talking about this and fighting for this is for the next generation of girls.
Where do things stand right now with the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit? And can you explain, you already have a little bit, but just how crucial this step is in the fight to protect women and girls in sports and beyond, for that matter?
Sure. So the Gaines versus NCAA case was filed last March, so it's already been over a year. And, the legal counsel and the NCAA have been going back and forth on different briefs and things because the NCAA is still trying to dismiss the case. So that's the point where we're approaching the point where the judge can say, in all three of these cases, actually, we're going to dismiss, or yes, there's merit to bring the case. Let's have discovery. Let's see what kind of documents and communications have transpired in the course of that season, and move forward to proceed with the actual case. We are confident in all three that will happen, and that all three judges will agree, yes, there is merit. We need to hear the full case. Recently, there's been some questions from the judge, posed from the judge in the Gaines versus NCAA case about hasn't the policy change rectified the rules moving forward? Haven't they already changed the policy to say men are no longer welcome on women's teams? That is another myth that has been circulating in the public. I think the NCAA's announcement of the policy change bars men from women's competitions. We did see that Ithaca College had a male rower participate after the policy change. That slipped through the cracks because there is no mechanism to screen male athletes in women's sports yet. They said we're not going to allow this in competition. However, how do they tell, other than relying on a changeable birth certificate, who is male and female? So that's one of our arguments at Icons is, we really need to have a screening process that ensures that female athletes are not participating on teams. But beyond just competition, women's sports teams in college encompass so much more. The training, the locker rooms, awards, scholarships, all of these benefits are still, men are still given access to these things. And we're seeing them across the country. In just the past few weeks, we've been approached by a few different teams who have experienced men on their Division III women's teams who are in the locker rooms, who are still racking up women's awards, but, maybe racing unattached on the women's teams. Loopholes like that schools are still, kind of barreling through with their ideology. So we need protections beyond what the NCAA policy that stands protects. So we're hoping with these cases that, again, there's longstanding legal precedent set that Title IX is clear, that it's for female athletes only, and that the NCAA really needs to do more in their protection of girls long term.
So are you telling me the headlines that I read on Facebook where I have won $50 million because the NCAA has settled and we've won this lawsuit, you're telling me those aren't true?
I wish they were true, because
me too. I've been waiting for the money to hit my bank account.
50 million. I think I started seeing those headlines like within a month of the lawsuit being filed.
Yeah.
That would be record speed for any legal case to be settled.
I saw one the other day that said Riley Gaines sues Whoopi Goldberg for $8 million, defamation suit. I'm like, oh, I did? When? I hope I win. It's just ridiculous, these headlines. But nonetheless, they circulate and people believe them. So important to debunk those now. We also just found out that the Supreme Court will be hearing oral arguments surrounding a Title IX case. I imagine the votes are there. If I could predict what's going to happen, it would be a 6-3 ruling with a scathing dissent written by the liberal justices. So what would this ultimately mean, especially as it pertains to, of course, the Supreme Court is like the law of the land.
We have been waiting for the Supreme Court to take up a women's sports case for a long time. So when I saw that, they're actually going to hear two cases from Idaho and West Virginia. And essentially, both of those are asking the Supreme Court to rule on whether it's constitutional for states like those two to have state laws on the books that protect women's sports for women only. Right now, I think we were talking about 27 or 28 states have laws that do just that, protect women in sports. However, there is limitations to these two cases. So I anticipate wins depending on when our babies are born. I anticipate you and I being outside the Supreme Court together to support the ADF and all the incredible attorneys fighting on behalf of women and girls. But, again, they're limited in the scope of what that decision will entail. And selfishly for me, I am not in a red state. I am not in one of those 27 states, and I don't anticipate Nevada passing a state law anytime soon for my daughter's protection. And California, Minnesota, Connecticut, these are blue states that likely will never have such state laws. And so what more can we do beyond, really fortifying that states can pass these laws? Well, clarifying Title IX, because we already have an existing federal law that every state should be complying with, and getting some legal court wins in, our 3 collegiate cases, as well as the Sewell case of the Connecticut high school runners that has been ongoing for, I want to say, over 6 years.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years now.
All of these cases are really important to move forward as well. So we're hoping now that the Supreme Court has opened the gates to hearing women's sports cases that we'll get some of these wins in higher courts for these other cases as well.
Yeah, fantastic. What else is kind of at the forefront of icons right now? I think specifically, like, what can we expect at the Olympics? Obviously, they're in the U.S. It's on U.S. soil in LA in 2028. Will we see men and women's sports in the 2028 Olympics?
It's a possibility. I know President Trump and the administration is firmly opposed to that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done because the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has not passed any guidelines or rules that bar men at the Olympic level. Individual sports have done that to a degree. So certain sports like world athletics, track and field, world aquatics, and swimming in the water sports, and others have passed some regulations that really limit that. I think to men who have not, quote unquote, transitioned or been medicalized prior to the age of 12. However, most sports are not protected, and therefore we've seen instances like in boxing where male athletes have snuck onto the ring and actually put women in lethal danger. And so far, there is still an avenue for them to do that in LA. There is a new IOC president, Kirsty Coventry. She was actually a competitor of mine in the 200 back in the NCAA. I am hopeful that she will really take this seriously and change some rules, but we need to continue to apply pressure at the Olympic level. Education is, the fight is in full force, but for club, Olympic, and professional sports, we still have a really long way to go. So we need to continue to rattle the cages and be really vocal about our support of our club team athletes.
What's the best way for people to get involved to help the cause, even if they wanted to specifically help the Gaines versus NCAA case or any of the other lawsuits that Icons is helping put forward?
Absolutely. Icons, we are 100% volunteer based. Almost every single dollar that is donated goes directly to legal fees in defense of these 3 important cases. So if you are interested, it's not, I should have been a lawyer, actually. If you go to donate to icons, ICONS.com, you can donate directly to the legal fund for Riley and the other female athletes in these cases. But please visit our website too and join the network, iconswomen.com, iconswomen.com. Be involved, and we can hopefully help work together to fight wherever you are in the U.S. and beyond.
Fantastic. You guys do such a great job of breaking these stories too, especially in sports that maybe don't get a lot of media attention generally. Sports like disc golf, for example, cycling. These are two sports that have just been totally like infiltrated by men. I guess pretending to be women. You do a great job of representing these women in these sports as well, and breaking these stories and giving these women a voice. So again, check out donate2icons.com and iconswomen.com. Fantastic work that they have been doing on this front. And so just very grateful for you, Marshi. I imagine I will see you outside of the Supreme Court, possibly babies in tote in just a few months. So very grateful for you. Thank you.
Ditto. Thank you so much for having me. You're incredible and amazing as always.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Gaines for Girls podcast. Again, go to donate2icons.com to donate to the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit or any of the other lawsuits that Icons has forward. Again, they're entirely volunteer ran. All of the money that is being raised, crowdfunded, is going straight to the lawsuits, straight to making impact for the future that my little daughter will grow up in. So donate to icons.com or go to iconswomen.com. You can check out what Icons is doing. You can follow along on social media. Again, they have been one of the most influential organizations in the fight to protect women's sports. And you can go to cozyearth.com, use my code GAINES, GAINES, for 40% off. 40%, that's a big amount. Go check them out. They have the best bamboo viscose sheets. Again, cozyearth.com, code GAINES. See you guys next week.